Hi, Dr. Silverman. Can you tell me what inspired you to be an entomologist?
Oh, I would say as a kid I was always interested in the outdoors and always interested in walking along the edge of a stream and turning over rocks and looking for animals large and small, and taking walks in the woods and turning over logs and looking for insects and other creatures. And I was always interested in the outdoors and fishing since I was a kid. And that's probably
So, tell me about your day-to-day activities as an entomologist.
They've varied. So, after I got my graduate degrees, I worked in industry. I worked for a company in New Jersey where we developed products to control household insects. We developed baits that contain food and toxicants for controlling cockroaches and ants primarily. Types of products you'd see in Lowe's or Harris Teeter, as well as products for the pest control industry. So there my work was primarily as a bench level scientist, developing the experiments to evaluate various products and learning more about the insects that we're trying to develop products to control 11 years ago. And day to day it's a lot of managing students and postdocs, making sure that they're on track with their research, so, developing the bigger ideas that we're going to explore, and then turning over those to the students and postdocs to develop their own ideas about their projects, and then keeping track of their work and helping them through the career science process, and helping them with their thesis or their dissertation or publication. So since I left industry and came here, I've been doing a lot less hands-on kind of work and mostly managing people to do that. And writing proposals to get funded so that we can continue to do the work that we do. It's kind of broadly day to day.
Pretty much
I teach as well.
You teach?
And so developing lectures, delivering lectures.
Do you teach undergrad?
I teach a 500 level course, which is mostly graduate students, but it's also for upper level undergraduate students.
And what does that focus on?
So that's on aquatic insects.
Aquatic?
So that's a course that Kelly took a couple of years ago.
Really? Okay. So, how does your research impact the lives of, say, me, who's not an entomologist?
Well, the research, my research has changed over the years. From what I described to you earlier when I worked in industry, where I was involved in developing products to control pests that people didn't want in their homes. So I think the average person that's dealt with a bug problem could appreciate that type of very applied research.
Absolutely.
Since I've come to NC State, we've done a mixture of applied and basic work on ants. With the focus on invasive ants, ants that have been introduced into areas where they're not native to.
Like the Argentine ant,
Yeah,
which
so
is what
a lot of our work is on the Argentine ant, and that's an ant that is native to parts of Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina, and it's been introduced to a lot of places throughout the world, including portions of North Carolina. I first got introduced to the Argentine ant when I did work at a company in Northern California. The Argentine ant is pretty much the only game in town where it's been introduced maybe 100 years ago and has pretty much displaced most of the native ants, and it's a major pest ant in a lot of California. But also where it's been introduced into North Carolina. So we try to, one, figure out ways to control them, and they're difficult to control. And two, we try to understand more about what are the characteristics of these ants that makes them invasive. Are there certain traits and certain conditions, traits that these ants have and conditions that these ants face that allow them to become pests.
Right.
And so by understanding those underlying mechanisms of invasiveness in this ant, that can also apply to other ants and other invasive animals, we have a better chance of being able to control them, both eliminating those that are here as well as figuring out ways to prevent these ants and other ants from getting in to
So how do you think non-entomologists view entomologists?
That's kind of a broad question. Depends. I think it depends on how educated the non-entomologist is.
Do you think about their personality? Because I have personally heard that entomologists can be kind of quirky or a little crazy sometimes.
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
No one's said that to me directly. But I've heard the same.
Okay.
And it's probably because, like most people, we don't find bugs to be gross.
Yeah. And most other people
I don't know
do.
who has the problem, the entomologist or the non-entomologist.
How does non-entomological research impact your work?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Are you talking about science?
I guess stuff that doesn't deal with insects.
Of science?
Yes.
Oh, well, it impacts our work considerably.
Mm-hmm.
And that there are often parallels between the system that we work with and those and other biological systems. There are methodologies and equipment that are developed for other areas of science that we tap into.
So, what is your favorite insect?
My favorite.
Or do you have one?
Well, yeah, I think the default is, because I don't want to take all day thinking about this, the insect that I work on is my favorite insect.
So, what really made you decide to focus on urban entomology as opposed to urban pest management?
I'd say I probably made the decision back when I was a graduate student to move in that direction, because I thought I'd have more job opportunities than perhaps in some other fields of entomology. And probably more than that, I grew up in a suburban area. I grew up close to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see myself moving to a job that was in a rural area. So I thought I might have more opportunities in a more urban environment to find work.
Okay. Makes sense. And the last question I have for you is, what do you find to be the most enjoyable part of your job?
I would say learning something new all the time. Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah.